Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to Kimmel's Irish Pub. It just dawned on me, we're like 16 days away from the NFL draft, and a lot has happened since the last time we spoke about fantasy football, so I thought, hey, better get out there and say something because, you know, even though the season isn't happening, we haven't had the draft yet, it is still time for fantasy football. Fantasy football is year-round, at least for me, and it should be for you if you're really serious about it. Anyway, so the draft is coming up. Who knows what's going to happen there? We can speculate all you want. We're really interested to see where the skill position people go, but let's not worry about that right now. Let's look back to see what has really happened so far, and I think there's three major moves this offseason, I think, if I remember. Well, not including Gronkowski's retirement, whatever. He retired at the beginning of last year. It seemed like, but no. Big move. So the first person I think to make the move was Antonio Brown. So Antonio Brown goes from the Steelers to the Raiders. And what do we all think of that? Now, what do I think of that? Antonio Brown still has the great skill set, but I think obviously his stock goes down a lot in this scenario. So historically for me, I've always tried to stay away from receivers who move to different teams, particularly receivers, not so much running backs or quarterbacks, but really receivers, because in most cases the receiver needs to build that bond with that quarterback, which although him and Ben didn't get along so well, they had that connection and they were very successful. And the Steelers had a high-powered offense and they scored a lot of points, so Antonio Brown was great. So I do think he still has the skills, but I think we're going to see a major drop in his production. I think he's worth owning, but do I think he's the number one receiver anymore? No, I don't think anybody else does. And the one piece of evidence, and we could speculate, of course it's what I love to do, fantasy football, the one piece of evidence is Amari Cooper, right? I mean, Amari Cooper was in the Oakland Raiders. I thought he was a bust. I drafted him when he was a rookie. I loved him. He had that one good season, and he really, was a bust the rest of the time. So it's like, okay, he's not that great. Send him to Dallas, and look at him. Much different player, much better production. So that's my fear with Antonio Brown is now he's going to this team that they couldn't do anything with Cooper in, and Cooper went to another team and showed what he could really do. So some things going on in there. I don't think they really have the stable running game, and the team that the Steelers had. So that's Antonio Brown. So not a player I would be trading for. One thing really quick to note, what I try to do with these kinds of players before they were traded in the NFL, I was trying to trade with other people to get some of these players just in case they don't get traded. So let's stay with receivers and let's talk about Odel Beckham Jr. So Odel Beckham Jr. a lot younger. Antonio Brown's on the wrong side of 30. Odell's still in his mid-20s, right? So, and the skill is there. He is still moving from one team to another team, so that quarterback connection doesn't exist right now, okay? So I still think this year, this season, we're going to see a decline in Odell Beckham's statistics per game because he was hurt last year, so we don't know, what his full seasons were going to be. But I don't think he's going to do as well this year with the Cleveland Browns as he did last year. One, again, the quarterback-receiver relationship has to be built, and that will be built over time. The other two is there's a lot of mouths to feed in Cleveland. So, Jarvis Landry is there as the other receiver. And so that's good, though. That always takes some pressure off your number one. But then they also have Njoku, if I'm saying that right, as the tight end. These are things that didn't exist in New York. Now, in New York, they had Barkley, so that helped a lot. And in Cleveland, they have Chubb and Kareem Hunt once he comes back. So that's my fear there, that I do think we're going to see a little slide on Odell Beckham Jr. But if you're in a keeper league or a dynasty league, I think moving forward after the season, he's going to be the number one receiver in the league going forward for a long period of time. Somebody I would definitely trade for, but I think he might have a down year this year. I mean, not down, but down as far as Odell Beckham. I still think he might be a number one for everybody else. And on the flip side, in both of these trades, I think there's a change with the quarterbacks as well. So there's 4 quarterbacks impacted here. I think Baker Mayfield gets the biggest bump right there. I think that the Cleveland Browns offense is going to be pretty good for fantasy football, I believe. So if you can get Baker Mayfield, I think he's seen a major increase in his worth. Eli Manning, I don't know how much worthless he can get, but that really went down in that trade. And going back to Antonio Brown, Ben Roethlisberger, I don't think takes a major hit by losing Antonio Brown. I mean, they have Juju Smith there, and you know, I think they're just going to plug and play people in, and Ben's going to do what he always does. So I don't see a major decline there. As far as Carr, I mean, it's got to go up, right? I mean, he's got a better receiver now, but if you couldn't do it with Cooper, I don't know. I'm not drafting Carr, I don't think, in any of my leagues. I might draft Ben and Baker Mayfield if I can, and I'm not touching Eli Manning. That's where I think they shake out, but you can see the impact there. One last thing, because I know I'm rambling on. I'm excited. I like to talk fantasy football, and I don't have any friends. So Lev'eon Bell, right? Talking about the Steelers. He was great with the Steelers. What a great running back, focal point, you know, every down back, and was an excellent player. What happens when he goes to the Jets? Sorry to say, I don't think this is the case for all running backs. I think sometimes when a running back changes teams, they could be more successful. You know, Marshall Faulk, okay, is a good example. But in this case, I think we see a decline in Lev'eon Bell. There's nobody else there to take any carries away from him, which is great, but there's not a high-powered offense like they had in the Steelers. There's no, you know, big-time receiving or big-time scoring threat, and I don't think the line is that good in New York. I think that he's going to get a ton of carries and a ton of catches, so which would be good as long as they design the game plan around him. But I don't think he's going to see as much running room as he did with the Steelers. I think, you know, the running style that Lev'eon Bell has is he's patient, waits for the hole to develop, and then, you know, takes off. And he's able to do that behind a Pittsburgh Steelers line, but I think once he gets behind a New York Jets line, he's going to be running for his life, and won't have that opportunity. We're going to see, I think, a lot of runs for negative yardage. You know, because he's not going to be able to wait for his hole to develop there. So I do see a decline there. Hopefully they work on getting him the ball in space, so they're throwing it to him in the flat. He's catching a lot of balls, which we know he can do. And hopefully down the line with Sam Darnold and what they're trying to build there, they escalate that offense into something better. He's still a young back, but I still do think obviously that's a decline for him. So they're the three biggest moves I believe this offseason and the impacts that they had. Again, besides Gronkowski retiring, but enough about that. So, you know, love to hear your thoughts. What do you got going on? Are you excited for the draft? I can't wait to see who gets taken there. But the free agent and the trading stuff is just so much fun, and I'm sorry we didn't get to talk about it sooner. Leave me comments, let me know what you think, and thanks for tuning in. Kimmel's Irish Pub.